Hello, everyone, and welcome to our training on digital peace building and cyber conflict course. This is a very important course because it is actually contemporary, it is germane, it is trendy. In fact, it falls in line with current realities, digital peace building and cyber conflict. Please stay tuned. My name is Ambassador Dr. Abdul Wahid Odewale, and I am from the Institute for Crisis Resolution, Peace Building, and Conciliation. And I will be your facilitator for this all important course, digital peace building and cyber conflict. We should actually begin now. This is actually from the Education and Training Center of ICRPC, and I want us to understand that this course is very rich. It has been carefully prepared, and of course, it contains 12 modules. 12 modules. And the attempt is to ensure that each aspect of cyber peace building and I mean digital peace building and cyber conflict is well covered. The course outline is very, let me quickly go into the course outline. In Module 1, we will be looking at an introduction to digital peace building and cyber conflict. And of course, that will help us to look at the evolution of conflict in the digital age, under which we will also look at cyberspace as the fifth domain of warfare. And we will look at overview of digital peace building in addition to looking at key concepts and terminology. By module 2, we will be looking at cyberspace, power and security, under which we will look at cyber power and national security. We will look at state and non-state actors in cyberspace. We will also look at cyber deterrence and cyber warfare. We will look at ethical and legal dimensions of cyber operations. We will proceed to module 3, where we will be discussing cyber conflict and cyber warfare, under which we will look at types of cyber conflict like cyber espionage, cyber sabotage, and even cyber terrorism. We'll also look at critical infrastructure attacks. Yes, we'll look at cyber conflict in hybrid and asymmetric warfare, still under module 3, where we will still look at global cyber conflict case studies. Then, of course, we will proceed to module 4, where we will be discussing social media, misinformation, and online hate, under which we will look at disinformation and misinformation. There's a difference between disinformation and misinformation. So we will look at the differences, the meanings. We'll look at hate speech and online radicalization. We'll look at social media algorithms and conflict escalation. We'll also talk about election related cyber interference, still under Module 4. Then, of course, from there, we will proceed to Module 5, where we will look at cyber conflict and peace in Nigeria, under which we will look at cybercrime, misinformation, and elections in Nigeria, online ethnic, religious, and political tensions. We will still look at digital activism and peace campaigns, and we will discuss Nigerian policy and institutional responses under Module 5. It will take us to Module 6, where we will look at digital peace building in Africa. Well, of course, we are not going to restrict ourselves to Nigeria alone. We will look at digital peace building in Africa, where we will look at social media and conflict dynamics in Africa, under which, still in Module 6, we talk about digital early warning systems and youth technology and peace building, case studies from Kenya, Ethiopia, Sudan, and the Sahel. Then we will look at Module 7, where we will be discussing global perspectives on cyber conflict, under which we have state-sponsored cyber operations, cyber conflict among major powers. We'll still discuss subtopics like role of international organizations and global governance of cyberspace. We'll take us to Module 8, where we'll look at technology tools for peace building, under which we'll still look at digital early warning and conflict mapping, AI, big data, and even predictive analysis. We will look at crowdsourcing and crisis mapping using AI. Then, of course, we look at mobile technology for peace and dialogue. We will also move to Module 9, where we'll be discussing cybersecurity, human rights, and digital ethics. Under that, we have subtopics of like digital rights and freedoms, surveillance, privacy, and data protection. We'll also look at cyber laws and human rights implications. And of course, we'll look at ethics of digital peace building. We'll also look at Module 10, where we'll be looking at countering online extremism and digital violence. Under that, we have subtopics on online recruitment and radicalization, counter narratives, and also digital resilience. We will look at role of civil society and tech companies. And of course, we'll pick some case studies of de-radicalization initiatives. And module 11, which is the second to the last module, we will look at policy, governance, and institutional responses, where we will discuss national cybersecurity policies, regional and international frameworks, public-private partnerships, and we'll look at multi-stakeholder governance models. And and after that, of course, we will proceed to the last module where we will discuss future trends in cyber conflict and digital peace building. Under that, we will discuss artificial intelligence and autonomous cyber threats. We'll look at deep fakes and information warfare. We'll also look at emerging technologies and peace futures. Of course, we'll look at best practices and policy recommendations under Module 12. Now, without taking much of our time, let us quickly go into the course in detail. Yes, we'll first of all look at Module 1, an introduction to digital peace building and cyber conflict. Now the module one overview is just that is that module one overview introduces us to the evolution of conflict and peace building in the digital era. Module one explains how digital technologies, especially the internet, social media, and cyberspace, have transformed the nature of conflict, security, and even peace building. So you will explore how cyberspace has emerged as a new domain of conflict, and we'll also look at, offering. We'll also offer innovative tools for peace building, dialogue, early warning, and even conflict prevention. So the learning objectives for module one is that by the end of module one, you should be able to understand the evolution of conflict in the digital age. You should be able to identify cyber conflict and digital peace building. You should be able to explain cyberspace as a new domain for security and conflict. Then you should be able to identify key actors and technologies shaping digital conflict. And of course, you should be able to recognize the dual use nature of digital technologies for conflict and peace. Now, talking about evolution of conflict in the digital age, from conventional to what? Digital conflict. That is what we have now. From conventional to digital conflict, we all know that historically conflicts were fought primarily on land, the sea, and also in the air. Later, space was recognized as a strategic domain. Today, cyberspace is considered the fifth domain of conflict. So modern conflicts increasingly involve, of course, let us take this very critically. Modern conflicts increasingly involve cyber attacks on infrastructure, information warfare and disinformation, online radicalization and recruitment, and of course, digital surveillance and espionage. What are the key insights? What we should know is that conflict no longer requires physical presence. Digital tools can destabilize societies remotely and at large scale. Very important. Now, understanding cyberspace. What is cyberspace? Now, cyberspace actually refers to what? All an aggregate of computer networks, internet infrastructure, digital platforms and data systems, connected devices, and communication technologies. That is what we describe as the cyberspace. Of course, it also includes social media platforms, government and military networks, financial and critical infrastructure system. No, of course, the cyberspace is a conflict domain. That is what we should get very clearly. The cyberspace is a conflict domain. We already know that. And why is the cyberspace attractive to conflict actors? The cyberspace is attractive to conflict actors because attacks are relatively low cost. It is very cheap. It is cheap to attack on the cyberspace. It is attractive as a conflict domain because the attribution is difficult. It is difficult to pin it on someone. It is difficult to pin it on a particular person. And actions can be covert and even deniable on the cyberspace. Yes. So that is why the cyberspace is an attractive conflict domain. And the impact can be widespread and rapid. That is, these are the four major areas, the four major reasons why the cyberspace is an attractive conflict domain. The attacks are relatively low cost, the attribution is difficult, actions can be covert and deniable, and impact can be widespread and even rapid. Now, let us ask ourselves this question. What is cyber conflict? Cyber conflict, what does it mean? Now, cyber conflict refers to the use of digital technologies to do what? To disrupt, damage, or control information systems, to influence, to even influence public opinion or even political processes. And it can be used to undermine national security or social cohesion. So that is as simple as the definition can be. Cyber conflict refers to the use of digital technologies to disrupt, damage, or even control information systems, to also influence public opinion or even political processes, and to also undermine national security or social cohesion. Now, what are the forms of cyber conflict we know? The forms of cyber conflict we know is one, cyber espionage. Cyber espionage has to do with what? It has to do with stealing sensitive data. Then there is cyber sabotage, which has to do with disrupting critical systems. Then the third one is cyber crime, which has to do with what? Financially motivated digital attacks. And the fourth one is information warfare. Information warfare has to do with disinformation, propaganda, psychological operations. And of course, the fifth one is cyber terrorism. That means using digital means to instill fear or disrupt society. These are the various forms of cyber conflict: cyber espionage, cyber sabotage, cyber crime, information warfare, and cyber terrorism. Now, let us look at this aspect of what we call digital peace building. The concept. What is the concept and scope of digital peace building? What is digital peace building in itself? Of course, digital peace building refers to the use of digital technologies to prevent conflict, promote dialogue, build trust, and even support peace processes. That is digital peace building. It has to do with the use of technology, the same technology that can be used to cause war, the same technology that can be used to promote conflict, can also be used to prevent conflict, to promote dialogue, to build peace, and to support peace operations. That is that is digital peace building. And of course, what does it include? It includes early warning systems, online dialogue platforms, digital monitoring of hate speech and violence. It also includes social media campaigns for peace. It also includes digital documentation of human rights abuses. These are ways that digital peace building can be effected. Now, there's something we need to understand, just like I just mentioned: dual use nature of digital technologies. All the digital technologies we know have dual use. That is, they use for positive and they use for negative. They use for conflict and they use for peace. Like, for example, social media. The negative use of social media, which can be used for conflict, is in the form of disinformation or in the form of a hate speech. That is the negative use of social media. And the positive use of social media, or the use for peace, has to do with what? Using social media for dialogue, using social media for peace campaigns. Now, the second one is AI and big data. AI and big data can be used for conflict by manipulation, using it for manipulation, and even using it for surveillance. But it can also be used for peace, when AI and big data can be used for early warning and can be used for what? Prediction. That is very important. Then, of course, the mobile phone, the technology of the mobile phone can be used for conflict through coordination of violence. It can be used to coordinate violence. And of course, the same mobile phone can be used for peace. I'm talking about dual use nature of digital technologies. The same mobile phone can be used for crisis alerts, and it can also be used for mediation. Now, also, technology of the online platforms. Online platforms can be used for conflict in the form of, it can be used for recruitment, it can be used for propaganda, but it can also be used for peace, where it can be used for civic engagement. Civic engagement, very, very important. Now, let us look at an aspect that is also very important as far as this course is concerned. I've just told us to prepare yourselves because this is the topic of the century. This is the cause of the century. Now, let us look at key actors in digital conflict and peace building. Key actors in digital conflict and peace building. We will divide them into conflict actors and peace building actors. Now, under the category of conflict actors, we have states and military cyber units, we have non-state armed groups. Thirdly, we have hackers and cyber criminal networks. And fourthly, we have political actors and foreign influencers. These are conflict actors. State and military cyber units, non-state armed groups, hackers and cyber criminal networks, and even political actors and foreign influencers. Then looking at the other category, which is peace building actors. The peace building actors are divided into civil society organizations, media and fact checking groups. Thirdly, international organizations like the United Nations, the AU, African Union, the ECOWAS. Then tech companies and platforms, and also youth and digital activists. These are the two categories or key actors in digital conflict and peace building. Now let us look at Nigeria, let's look at Africa and global illustrations. For example, in Nigeria, the use of social media in elections. We all know how social media have been used for both civic engagement, and it has also been used for misinformation. Now, looking at online ethnic and religious hate speech that contributes to offline tensions, it has happened in our Nigeria. And of course, it has also, there's also digital peace campaigns. That is the positive side. Digital peace campaigns by NGOs and youth groups during elections. So these are some of the things that then within Africa, moving away from Nigeria, in Africa, we have Kenya's election-related disinformation and digital peace monitoring. Yes. Sudan's digital activism during political transitions. And we have seen that of Ethiopia's online hate speech contributing to ethnic conflict. So what it means is that digital technologies can be used to generate and create conflict, and it can also be used as a peace building tool. We must take that into consideration. There are lots of resources in the handouts for this particular training, and I believe that most of us will get to understand as we progress. We need to have the course material for those of us that will be interested in having them. Then we move quickly to opportunities and challenges. Opportunities and challenges of digital peace building. Opportunities starts with rapid information sharing. The opportunities in digital peace building is what? Rapid information sharing, because it enables information to be shared rapidly. Another opportunity is the aspect of youth engagement. Yes, the aspect of data-driven conflict prevention. These are opportunities, in digital peace building. And we also have scalable peace initiatives. These are opportunities in digital peace building because you can involve the youth easily, because the youth are the major influencers of digital peace building. Of digital technologies, and it can be used to engage them, and information can be shared rapidly with the youth. These are the opportunities of digital technologies. And of course, we have data-driven conflict prevention, where we have early warning signs. Network. A project that can be. You can use AI to do data-driven conflict prevention, and we have scalable peace initiatives. Then, what are the challenges? In addition to the fact that we have talked about the opportunities, then let us look at the challenges also. Very important. The challenges start with what? There is a very wide gap, digital divide. The divide, the digital divide in respect of those who have digital and technology knowledge and those who do not. The gap is so wide. And of course, another challenge is misinformation and algorithmic bias. Yes, misinformation and algorithmic bias. Then there's surveillance and privacy risk. There's surveillance and privacy risk, and there's also lack of regulation. Lack of regulation and accountability. These are the challenges we have in digital peace building. When you have privacy risk, you have surveillance risk, you have lack of regulation, the space is not regulated, and there's no accountability is very hard. Now, there are some aspects that we quickly need to understand. You may ask yourself that, look, how has digital technology transformed the nature of conflict? Why is cyberspace considered a new domain of warfare? Can digital tools be more effective for peace building than traditional methods? What risk does digital peace building pose to privacy and human rights? These are some questions, you can ask yourself, so that as you progress, you will, it will give you input, clear understanding. As we progress now, we will look at module two. Module two is also another very important aspect. Cyberspace, power, and security. That is the title of module two. Cyberspace, power, and security. Now, what is the overview of module two? Module two is very simple. That module two actually examines cyberspace as a domain of power and security competition. It explores how states, non-state actors, and private entities exercise power in the cyberspace, how cyber capabilities shape national and international security, and what this means for peace building and conflict prevention. Now, you as a participant in this course, you will be able to analyze cyber power, deterrence, and governance, and even understand how digital technologies reshape sovereignty, influence, and security dynamics. Learning objectives of this particular module 2. Module 2 is very easy. At the end of this module 2, participants should be able to do what? Explain the concept of cyber power, analyze how cyberspace reshapes national and international security, identify key actors exercising power in cyberspace. Then you should also understand cyber deterrence and strategic competition. You will be able to examine governance, ethical, and legal challenges in cyberspace. Now let us move in. Let us dive in deeply in this module too. Understanding power in cyberspace. What is cyber power, first of all? Cyber power refers to what? Refers to the ability to use digital technologies to influence, to coerce, or control, to protect national digital infrastructure, and also to reshape narratives, information flows, and even public opinion. That is cyber power. Very important. The ability to do what? To use digital technologies to influence, force, or control, to use digital technology to protect, to protect national digital infrastructure, and to also use it to shape narratives, information flows, and public opinion. Anyone with the capacity to do these three things has got cyber power. Yes, because it combines the use of technology, it combines technological capability, human expertise, institutional capacity, and legal and normative frameworks. Yes. Once you have something like this, the kind of power that you can use digital technology to influence, to force, and control, and you can use it to protect national digital infrastructure, and you can use it to shape narratives, information flows, and even public domain. And of course, you are able to do this because of your technological capability. You are using it because of your technical, your human expertise. You are able to do this because of institutional capacity and also legal and normative frameworks. Then you have cyber power. Now, what are the dimensions of cyber power? These dimensions of cyber power can either be offensive or defensive. First of all, offensive capability. Offensive capability. This is a situation where you have the ability to launch cyber operations. That is offensive capability. Now, defensive capability is the second one, which has to do what? It has to do with cyber security and resilience. If someone has the ability to launch cyber operations, then of course defensive capability is the one that has the capacity to secure the cyberspace, and that is cyber security professionals, and resilience. Then there's information power, those with the capacity to control data, to control narratives, and to control platforms. Yes. Then, of course, normative power are those with ability to shape rules, to shape norms, and to shape standards. Like, for example, Facebook has information power because they have the capacity to control data, to control narratives, and even control platforms and control the Facebook platform. Now, let us quickly move to cyberspace and national security. What do we mean by cyberspace and national security? Cyberspace and national security. Why cyberspace matters for security? Why does cyberspace matter for security? Cyberspace actually affects military operations. It affects elections and democratic processes. It affects financial systems. It affects energy, health, and transport infrastructure. This is the reason why cyberspace matters for security, because it can affect military operations, elections and democratic processes, financial systems, energy, health, and even transport infrastructure. Now, what are the when we talk about cyber incidents? When you have cyber incidents can actually paralyze essential services. Cyber incidents can undermine public trust. Cyber incidents can even trigger political instability without even physical violence. So we must know that we have what we call critical infrastructure and cyber vulnerability. What are the examples of critical infrastructure? Examples of physical critical infrastructure. When each time we hear this, they talk about critical infrastructure, we say, critical infrastructure. What does it mean? Number one, power grids. Power grid. Yes. Banking systems. Telecommunications, healthcare systems. These are critical infrastructure that must be protected at all times, and it must not be under the control of cyber criminals. Power grids, banking systems, telecommunications, and even healthcare systems. For example, in 2017, there was a WannaCry ransomware attack. That was a cyber attack that disrupted hospitals and businesses worldwide. That was in 2017. Then let us look at the Nigerian example. The Nigerian example is a situation where you have increasing cyber attacks on banking and fintech platforms. It is still ongoing today. There are concerns over election-related cyber interference. It is happening in Nigeria. Now, let us look at actors. Who are those actors exercising power? Those actors exercising power in the cyberspace. Actors exercising power in the cyberspace. One, they are in different categories. The first category, we call them state actors. State actors state actors involve or include national cyber commands and military units. Like in Nigeria, the Nigerian police force they have the National Cyber Crime Center, NCCC, of the Nigerian police force. That is a state actor. Then we have intelligence agencies conducting cyber espionage. Then we have the use of cyber tools for strategic competition. These are state actors. Examples, for example, maybe if we go beyond Nigeria, we look at United States Cyber Command, there's China's cyber capabilities, there's Russia's information warfare and strategies. We have already talked about our own. We have even the military have national cyber command centers. Then the second category is non-state actors. Non-state actors are the what? The hackers and cyber criminal groups. Then, of course, terrorist and extremist organizations, and even activists and hacktivist groups. Activists and hacktivist groups. These are two different groups. The ones that are activists and the ones that they have. So we have, these are the non-state actors. An example is the use of social media by extremist groups for recruitment and propaganda. We have seen it in Nigeria. We have seen it happening here. Then we have another category, the private sector and technology companies. So we have discussed the state actors, the non-state actors, and we have talked about, now we are looking at the private sector and technology companies. That is those who have control of platforms and data. Those who have a role to play in content moderation and cybersecurity. And those whose influence on digital norms and governance. Like, for example, the second one there is a role in content moderation and cybersecurity. We have the Institute of Cybersecurity Professionals, control of platforms and data, and of course, those who have influence on digital norms and governance. Now, let us look at cyber deterrence and strategic stability. What is cyber deterrence? Cyber deterrence seeks to do what? Cyber deterrence seeks to prevent enemies from launching cyber attacks. That is deterrence. Cyber deterrence prevent adversaries, prevent enemies from launching cyber attacks, and they seek to do what? To signal consequences for malicious actions. When there's consequences for any malicious actions, they provide signals. That is what we mean by cyber deterrence. And there are some challenges of cyber deterrence. Some of the challenges of this cyber deterrence is what? Attribution difficulties. Attribution difficult. Who do you attribute a particular cyber attack to? How do you locate? That is a challenge. Then there's lack of clear international rules. Lack of clear international rules. Then there is rapid technological change, and there's low barriers to entry. There is low barriers to entry